In order to enable Marie and Louis to have a little prince as soon as possible, the king summoned everyone and announced that the two of them would visit Paris. Firstly, it was to lay the foundation for Louis to ascend the throne in the future, and secondly, it was to create opportunities for the young couple to have intimate contact. But just as the king was about to get up and leave, he fainted without any warning. At this moment, everyone present was frightened out of their wits, and Madame du Barry was the most nervous. You know, she could live a comfortable life in Versailles all thanks to the king's support. If the king died at this time, with so many enemies, she would surely end up badly. The king knew in his heart that this unexplained fainting probably meant more bad luck than good, so he told Louis to get ready to be the king as soon as possible. Louis wasn't prepared at all and couldn't accept the fact that the king might die of illness. The next day, the outside of the king's bedroom was surrounded by nobles. Everyone thought they would hear the news of the king's death from illness. Unexpectedly, the king was actually sitting in a wheelchair. Although the king still couldn't be too tired, he seemed to be in much the same spirit as before and even loudly exclaimed that he was starving. However, when the king turned his back to the crowd, he still showed a look of exhaustion. It seemed that his illness was far more complicated than it appeared on the surface, and no one knew what the king's intention was in concealing his illness. Until at the dinner party, the king suddenly stood up and announced that he would make Madame du Barry the queen, because only in this way could Madame du Barry, who was of low birth, become a widow after his death and continue to live a carefree life in the palace of Versailles. But the king's decision was opposed by many people. His two daughters said that if the king married Madame du Barry, it would be an insult to their mother, but the king had made up his mind and even threatened his daughters that they either accepted it or got out of the palace. After hearing this, the two daughters didn't dare to have any objections. Soon, Madame du Barry began to order a ceremonial robe for the queen's coronation ceremony. Coincidentally, Marie also had to order a ceremonial robe for the visit to Paris, and the two of them took a fancy to the same fashion designer. This time, would Marie take the initiative to give in?